Tervetuloa taas tänne Leffahullu-podcastin pariin. Tällä kertaa taas hieman haastatteluja, kun haastattelussa on Monika Lindeman sekä englantilainen elokuvaohjaaja Darren McStay. Haastattelussa juteltiin heidän yhteisestä elokuvasta Trillereistä, joka on tämmöinen suomalainen indie-elokuva, tämmöinen psykologinen trilleri. Ja yhdessä me juteltiin tästä elokuvasta. Juteltiin, mistä idea tähän leffaan lähti, mistä elokuvista muun muassa ohjaaja Darren McStay ammentaa, tai millainen miljöö, luminen metsä, metsän keskellä sijaitseva hotelli keskellä Suomen metsiä voi olla, ja niin poispäin. Ja moni varmasti tuntee Monika Lindemanin Salatut Elämät sarjasta, joten puhuttiin vähän, että millaista oli näytellä tällaisessa elokuvassa, tai miten hän valmistautui tähän rooliin ja niin poispäin. Ja tosiaan, koska ohjaaja on englantilainen, niin puhuimme hänen kanssaan englantia, hän ei hirveästi suomea osaa, joten sen takia suurin osa tästä haastattelusta on englannin kielellä. Mutta pidemmittä puheitta, hei, mennään haastattelun pariin. So, this time I have Monika Lindeman and Darren McStay here with me, and we are talking to Trillereista movie. Nice to have you both here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And do you want for start to tell what is this movie? What is about?
Ooh, without giving too much away, it's about a traveling spiritual medium who ends up on the last date of his tour in a hotel in Finland. However, it turns out the spirits he's trying to contact might be a little more troublesome for him than he expected.
Film is the genre is psychological thriller, and it's the first feature film of Polymath House Productions. First production.
Yeah. Okay. So it's thriller slash perhaps little horror. So where does the idea of this movie came from?
Okay. Well, the idea from the movie is linked to its place in my repertoire. So as a first-time feature filmmaker, you, especially with the creative arts situation globally right now, there's not a huge amount of funding out there, so everyone's having to be resourceful, and no more so than first-time filmmakers. It's very difficult to get into the industry right now. Even people who have studied it doesn't matter where you've come up from, it's just difficult. So I wanted to see what resources were available to me, and of course with Monika's links to her family and the hotel Nuxio, I thought, well, here we can look at locations, because this is something that's not going to be difficult to if we can get locations and we can get everyone to film on location, we're saving so much more money just by doing it in one area. And so I thought, well, that's available to me, so I'm now going to see what's available in here. And of course, being an English speaker, and puhuu vähän suomea, but not enough to do an entire film. The idea was that perhaps it's a hotel and it can remain a hotel, only I bring someone from outside in, and there was that seed for the idea. And then of course, hotels at night in the winter can get a little spooky. So I had these feelings that, maybe it's towards horror or thriller or something. So, it started building up. And so I walked around the hotel, looked at corridors and rooms and I spent a lot of time listening to different artists that I could source from Artlist, which is a library which I pay to in order to be able to use copyright-free material. And that gave me some inspiration for the tone I was looking at.
Mhm.
And then it grew from there. So someone comes to Finland from outside, hence English. It's going to be in a hotel. It's in Finland. And so, yeah, it developed from there. And then the story kind of came quite easily. I knew that with having to be resourceful, I'd have to work with at least somebody I've worked with before as an actor. And so Ricky Chamberlain, who plays Arthur, who's the main character of the movie, he's someone I've worked with many times in both film and theatre years ago back in London. And he's so intelligent and he's so quick at learning text. And I knew this was going to be a tumultuous kind of a roller coaster of a ride. So having him in means we've already got a dialogue together. We can move fast and he can learn things if I change them, which I did on the spot. So I started writing to his strengths then. And then he told me about a person who is known as I think the baby whisperer. And a real guy from Glasgow, also where Ricky is from.
Mhm.
And so this person makes a living touring round, telling people that he's talking to their dead children. And so we used him as a spark for the character. And then, of course, the rest of the story came about through some mythological research and bringing some of that back to Finland as well. But I don't want to go too heavily into that because until people have seen the movie, I'm reluctant to go into those details because there are some mysteries in the film to be solved for those who really want to look for them.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it was 2015 when we arrived from London, when we moved to Finland, and we went to the hotel for the first time it was snowy. Was it October or November?
It was December.
Or something? Oh, this is December, yeah. And we drove that little road that took us all the way by the lakes and by the forest to the hotel, and you said, oh my God, one day we do have to make a horror film here. It didn't become actually a pure horror, but it's got the elements of the horror. But yeah, I think that was the maybe the starting point unconsciously.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of horror or thriller movies that you're inspire or drawn ideas from this? When I was watching this movie, I'm somehow thinking The Shining or 1408, especially your characters, Darren.
Okay, yeah. Well, that was unfortunate because an actor was ill and I had to jump in to take their place. I wasn't supposed to be in it.
Yeah.
So, I took the camera and said, okay, Jack, your turn. And changed the clothes. And then, somebody got COVID. So on the last 2 days and it had to be me. That had to rewrite the script a little as well for that. But actually, there was one film, Darren Aronofsky film called Mother, and what I got from that largely, because obviously I see the links to The Shining, and perhaps unconsciously being a hotel, I knew there was always going to be that element, and the bartender who I played, clearly the relationship of a guy at the bar in a hotel, it does, because Shining is such a good film, it's maybe hard not to keep that in your head. So The Mother, what I wanted to find some sort of language for the film to tell with the camera, and so I decided to make it very subjective towards Arthur. So we're either looking at him or we're really looking at what he's looking at. So there's lots of POVs, lots of point of view. And that's something I got from the Mother movie. because I really like the fact that we're sort of with the main character the whole way, and we really should be experiencing what they're experiencing, and that's inclusive of any disorientation, which I deliberately tried to infuse into the film, so the audience might be a little questioning what's going on, but it really should reflect how Arthur feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really bummed that that's the only Aronofsky movie that I haven't seen. So
Oh no!
now I have to see it.
Yeah, no, it's very contained, actually, in many ways. Which means when it does cut loose, it's huge. But I don't want to tell you too much about it. Only I took some inspiration from the subjectivity of the
Yeah.
main character. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's one of my favorite
Oh,
directors, so I have to see
yeah.
it someday. The Porting was one of my favorite movies a couple of years back, so
Yeah.
I have to see all of them now.
Yeah. And Requiem for a Dream was one of I saw that at the cinema in Brighton in the UK on my own, and it was one of the most magical. I say magical because it's quite dark, but
Mm,
it was one of the most powerful film experiences I've had in the cinema.
yeah.
And at the end, there was a lot of people looking around for support. Like, what do we do here? Well, we clap, I guess, because it was so powerful. And that movie is really moving, especially the relationship with the son and his mother. Like, yeah. But anyway, we're not talking about Darren Aronofsky,
Yeah,
Darren
yeah.
McStay.
Kysytään vaihteeksi oikein suomeksi Monikalta. Niin, haluatko sä kertoa jotain omasta hahmostasi tässä? Moni varmaan tuntee sut ehkä Salattujen elämien kautta, jos sä oot ollut monta vuotta, mutta onko sulla jotain tästä elokuvan, niin kuin, miten sä niin kuin, lähdit tämän niin kuin, hahmon pariin tässä projektissa?
No joo, siis kyllähän näyttelijä yleensä lähtee kaikkia rooleja tekemään sen tekstin perusteella. On se sitten päivittäisdraaman hahmoja tai elokuvan tai teatterin hahmoja, niin kyllä sitä aina lähtee siitä, että mitä se teksti antaa. Ja kyllä tuossa oli sama juttu. Ja itse asiassa keskusteltiin myös paljon, meillä oli niin kuin harjoituksia sitten niin kuin vastanäyttelijöiden kanssa, mulla esimerkiksi Rikin kanssa oli sitten etänä, hän tuli sieltä Skotlannista, niin keskusteltiin paljon, että mikä näiden niin kuin välinen se yhteys on ja minkä takia nämä hahmot tietynlaisia ja mikä on niin kuin hahmojen agenda ja näin. Ja tämän day manager Helenan hahmo on aika mystinen ja se on vähän semmoinen, että siitäkin nyt kun on ihmisiä, jotka on nähnyt elokuvan, niin kyselee välilläkin semmoisia niin vähän jänniäkin kysymyksiä, että siis onko tämä niin kuin, onko tämä tätä tai onko tämä tätä. Että se on vähän semmoinen hahmo, joka sillä omalla agendallaan jakaa ajatuksia ja mielipiteitä. Hän on vahva, määrätietoinen, kunnianhimoinen, eli ne on ehkä semmoisia asioita, mitkä yhdistää sitten vaikka tähän päivittäisdraaman hahmoon, että siinä on paljon semmoisia samoja, että oli sillä lailla helppo lähteä, mutta toki hän elää aivan eri todellisuudessa ja ryhmän johtajana ja näin. Mä yritän taas kanssa, että mä en ihan liikaa nyt paljasta varsinkaan tätä Helenan agendaa tässä, mutta oli tosi kiva ja lähdettiin paljon tekemään siis niin kuin fysiikan kautta. Et mä lähdin niin kuin ajattelemaan häntä vähän semmoisena niin kuin, aika silleen niin kuin, miettiä sitä ryhtiä ja millä tavalla kädet on ja minkälaiset vaatteet on. Ja on aika semmoinen niin kuin, tiukka muikkeli, jolla on paljon sanottavaa ja näin. Joo.
Joo, ja kyllä mun täytyy sanoa varmaan, että jos tulisi tommoseen hotelliin ja tulisi sitten vastaan, se saattaisi tulla pikkusen pelko, mihin on joutunut.
Niin, kyllä, että siinä oli selkeästi ehkä semmoinen puoli, että Et pystytään kyllä hymyilemään ja pystytään olla tosi semmoisia ystävällisiä, mutta sitten sieltä tulee semmoisia vähän niin kuin napakoita, tiukkoja, vähän semmoisia niin kuin momentteja, missä sitten ihminen, Arthur tässä tapauksessa, niin koki myös vähän semmoista, että nyt tämä ei ehkä tämä paikka olekaan sitä, mitä mä alun perin luulin.
Joo. Ja mä tykkäsin just siitä, että tässä niin kuin sun hahmon tai tämän elokuvan kautta just, että se on koko ajan semmoinen mukava mysteeri, ettei niin kuin, ei paljasta heti niin kuin liikaa. Ja täytyy oikein miettiä, että mikäköhän tämäkin nyt mahtaa olla tässä näin. Niin se teki semmoisen oman mielenkiintoisen lisän siihen. No,
Kyllä. Ja sitten äsken, what Darren actually said there as well, is that people maybe or viewers who are watching the film will see the world, the hotel, the people in the hotel through Arthur's eyes, perhaps. So
Yeah.
there is that. So what is Arthur's point of view, and what is the reality, and what actually is the reality? Am I telling too much? No, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe we're going to go further than that.
No.
We're seeing it from his point of view, absolutely. Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah.
Is there something favorite horror or thriller movies that you like or inspire?
Well, as I already said, Requiem for a Dream is one of my favorite films of all time. It's fantastic. The Shining is another great example of a great movie I could watch again and again, and probably get more from it each time as well.
Yeah.
But I think when I think about when I worked in a video shop between the ages of 12 and 16 in the evenings for 2 hours a day, and I got paid in videos, and that was it. And that was my teenage years.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'd go to my friend's house and we'd all watch videos, and occasionally I might rent some off to someone else at 50p. VHS, yeah. Yeah. I think there's still a couple of Betamaxes around at the time as well.
Really?
Very rarely, but so I had my teenage years were full of movies, full of films, and I even we had a connection. A friend of mine at the time, her older sister was going out with a guy who worked the door at the Odeon cinemas where I lived, and he kind of, for a pack of cigarettes, he'd sneak 4 of us in to watch a movie, and we saw Total Recall long before we should have, because I think we were about 15 or 16. It was an 18 film, and that was amazing to watch that in the cinema. But yeah, for horror, I've actually really enjoyed the new Alien Romulus. Yeah. I mean, because I've been watching going back to watch some of the newer ones from 2016, Prometheus, but Romulus was really scary. It really, I don't know what it was about between that. It was some really moments. So as a horror film, I thought that was great. But it's also suspenseful, and you know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it worked. Okay, but as a horror, in the thinking of it is it is? No, the big one. iSense in Helsinki. We had some friends over from the UK, and we watched the new version of It, Part 1, and we were the whole audience. I tell you that it was 650 seats. Everyone jumping at the same time and looking for support from each other. That whole community of, oh my God, let's hope this isn't real.
We were sitting literally in the middle of the cinema. We booked the tickets before anyone else, really, because we had visitors from the UK.
Yeah.
And I think the guy was there, came before the cinema started, saying, like, in case you need to leave, try not to let other people watch the film.
I think he said
in the middle of the cinema.
He said, please don't wet the seats. The toilets are this way.
So was it, yeah. And I thought, oh no, if I have to kind of leave him, because I'm quite jumpy. And yeah, so for me, like, it's like this when I'm watching a horror film, which you like, don't you? Taking me for a date to see a horror film.
Yeah. But again, I think the psychological thrillers is probably more my thing.
Yeah. Is there something you like to share? What is your favorite psychological blah,
I've
thriller.
already said it a couple of times.
But yes, but is there something else perhaps?
Um,
No.
no, nothing's coming to mind. I guess because I've got so many films.
Yeah.
Actually, I rewatched a film the other day. It's an old Stephen King movie called Cat's Eyes from 1987, maybe it was. Maybe no, earlier than that. It's 84, I think. And it's 3 stories. And the first story is about a man who wants to quit smoking. And he goes to this company, which is actually run by gangsters. Before he can walk out the door and say he's changed his mind, they've got him in the office, and they basically, once he's there, he's in trouble. He has to quit smoking.
Yeah.
So they kidnap his wife and put her in an electric room, and they make him watch, and then he has to say to her what he did afterwards. That was after smoking 1 cigarette. Yeah, and after the 3rd cigarette, he's in a lot of trouble. So it's a really good play on the idea of, you know, getting someone to quit smoking. And actually, I've been writing a script recently, which falls into a similar genre by accident. It wasn't meant to be, but that it's almost something quite ordinary, but so absurd, it makes it almost kind of harrowing, and also quite funny at the same time. And I think that actually happened with To Thy Rest. Accidentally, it started becoming a little bit funny in places because the things that are happening to Arthur become absurd. And some reactions we've got from audience who we've spoken to, had private screenings with, they've actually said "Hauska," and I'm like, okay, we weren't really expecting that, but it seems that's really how it's turned out.
And of course, the relationship between Arthur and the agent is hilarious. I mean, and that's, I have to say, that the your writing, the previous films, the previous short films, the previous stuff that you've done, there is always like a little sense of humor in the dialogue. I just can't help it. You know, it's
saying that it was also that it wasn't just me that wrote it. It was another person called Henry Vallow, who's Suomalainen mies. Yeah, I wasn't alone. I mean, I came up with the original concept and outlined the story, but he filled in a lot, and he was really humble, and he did a lot of the grunt work, you know, a lot of filling stuff out for me, and then making sure that it was ready for filming, because I had so many other things to contend with. And he didn't want to take any glory. He was just happy to help and happy to serve the film. So, you know, big props to Henry Vallow, because he did a great job, and it was he's in there, you know, his words are there, and I have to share that story with him, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have anything more to say. Do you like tell something else from this movie?
I think it's especially because I've seen it 1,000 times now, and so I'm kind of trusting of what new faces are telling me about it, you know. And there seems to be some common themes. Is that it's not too scary. It's been rated 12, as it has the trailer. So if you watch the trailer, that's as scary as it gets.
Yeah.
Really. So there is more of a story to it. There's more of a journey, and there is a mystery to be solved as well. And so I challenge anyone who's watching it to try and figure out who these people really are. And there are clues along the way. So I'm not going to say any more than that. I just like to leave it with there's I think people who watch it a second time will get a lot more than they did the first time. It's one of those films, because by the time you get to the end, you've probably gone, oh, I should have been looking for clues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much.
Kiitoksia. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, nice to speak to you.
Yeah.
Yes. No niin, semmoinen haastattelu. Oli siis todella todella mukavat haastattelut Monikan ja Darrenin kanssa ja hienoa kuulla ne elokuvat, mitä Darren fanittaa tai mistä hän on saanut ideoita tätä leffaa varten. Joo, meikäläisellä meni ehkä hieman inttämiseksi tämä, koska hän useamman kertaa jo mainitsi, mutta niin kuin halusin enemmän saada tietoa vielä, että vieläkö oli jotain sellaisia leffoja, joista hän ammentaa ja joita hän rakastaa tai on katsonut lähiaikoina. Ja tosiaan Trillereistä-elokuva on tulossa lähiaikoina ensi-iltaan ja sen voi käydä sitten kurkkaamassa, missä sitä ikinä näytetään. Ja hei, pistäkää kommentteja, jos tykkäsitte tästä haastattelusta tai alkoiko leffa kiinnostamaan tai ootko nähnyt esimerkiksi tämän elokuvan jo, ja jos oot, niin mitä mieltä olit siitä? Tai onko ohjaaja teille ennestään tuttu, tai kiinnostaako seurata ohjaajan uraa jatkossa, tai tämmöisiä indie-elokuvia, tuleeko niitä katsottua paljon? Ja tuttuun tapaan tietenkin, hei, jos tykkäsitte, niin pistäkää peukkuun ja pistäkää kanavatilaukseen ja niin poispäin. Ja hei, jos katsot YouTuben puolelta, niin pistä peukkuun, jos pistä kanavatilauksen, muista kellosta päälle. Näet aina, koska tulee uusia videoita ja sen lisäksi auttaa kanava kasvamaan. Eli kiitos kaikille, jotka olette kanavan tilanneet. YouTuben puolella siellä on jäsenyydet, superominaisuudet päälle. Sieltä voi jäsenet tulla kanavan jäseniksi ja sieltä saa erikoismainintaa esimerkiksi tohon nimen, kun on kanavan jäsen ja sit saa erinäköisiä hyviä asioita. Näkee ennakkoonkin. Esimerkiksi tämänkin on nähnyt varmasti jo aikaisemmin, jos on kanavan jäsen, tämän videon sieltä ja muita videoita tulee. Esimerkiksi täällä on paljon tällä leffahuoneessa kaiken näköistä, mistä on tulossa lähiaikoina varmasti video, niin niitäkin näkee sitten ennakkoon, kun on kanavan jäsen. Joskus tulee jopa pelkästään jäsenille tarkoitettuja videoita. Ja sen lisäksi on kaikki korostettuja vastauksia ja tila ja tämmöisiä merkkejä ja muuta kaikki. Kyllä te tiedätte YouTube-juttut. 0,99 € kuussa tai 2,99 € kuussa, niillä saa erinäköisiä asioita, kun tilailee tai on kanavan jäsen. Ja niitä supertykkäyksiä, superkommentteja, kaikkea voi laittaa, niin siitä tulee muutamat kymmenet sentit sitten tähänkin suuntaan. Eli kiitos kaikille, jotka olette niitä laittaneet. Ottakaa Leffahullu somekanavat haltuun, Instagrami, TikTokki, Facebook-sivusto, jäne. Meikäläinen tekee Marvel Podcast Suomea, Star Wars Podcastia ja sitten sen lisäksi meikäläinen kuuluu Leffamediaan, jos on yli 30 sisääntuottajia, jotka rakastavat leffoja ja sarjojen katsomista, niiden arvostelemista ja kaikkeen leffoja ja sarjoihin liittyvää. Sieltä löytyy leffa- ja sarja-aiheiset uutiset, huhut, trailerit, sieltä löytyy haastatteluja, kaikennäköistä leffa- ja sarja-aiheista. No niin, tämä oli Leffahullu podcast tällä kertaa. Ei muuta, ensi kertaa. Se on moro.